All right. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining. We are here with, go ahead and introduce yourself, sir.
Walter E. Perry, candidate for District 2 City Council.
Definitely. Thank you for coming on. So, District 2, man, so many, like I said yesterday, so many candidates. I mean, what are some of the things that you think you can do, or do you think that kind of sets you apart from from everybody else?
I believe that my experience in the community, the way that I relate to the community, and the ideas that I'm looking to bring to the community, I feel like these are forward-thinking ideas that benefit everybody in the district, and I feel like that I can connect diverse groups of people.
Okay. It's fading a little bit in and out,
Okay,
audio, but
what you need me to do?
Um, I don't know. I don't know if it just could be a connectivity issue, but I think for the most part, you said that you can kind of connect with the people. Hey, what's going on, Solo? Connect with the people and just do some forward thinking. So, do you think that's lacking in District Two? Is forward thinking, kind of thinking outside the box, and kind of doing some more things that kind of uh, you know get the district going in the right direction?
Yeah, I think the district has been lethargic for the last few years, and hasn't been anything exciting. We haven't had the representation to come with the ideas that inspire our community. We haven't had anybody that come in with the type of knowledge or the type of charisma to make the necessary connections. And so right now, we feel like at this time, we are the best ones to represent for the community as far as making those connections, having a plan, but also having the support of the community to
Mm.
open up doors for everybody else.
Definitely. Are you excited though, at least that you see a bunch of people that are willing to put their name in? Because running for office is not easy. It's not for the faint of heart. It's not something that it's to joke about or to just play around. But are you glad to see this type of engagement, or do you think that people are just doing it just to do it?
Yeah, I love it. I always love when people step up and to do something that's bigger than themselves, and to see candidates, no matter how many there are, it's great to see people stepping up. However, there can only be one council person, and
Hmm.
right now the field is crowded, so it's going to be up to the voters to decide whose agenda fits best for the community. And yes, I'm extremely excited. This is my second time running. I ran a couple of years ago, and we did pretty well. And so what we want to do is take what we did the last time, capitalize on that, and then take it to the next level.
And what did you run for previously?
District 2 City Council.
Okay, okay. So what are some things that, because I know I face this too. I'm like, okay, so it was a learning lesson, like the first one. What are some things that you can carry on with you that you learned in your first race?
The first time, I was nervous, and my nerves played out at different parts during the campaign. It's a marathon, and
Hmm.
sometimes it's a sprint at certain parts, but it's a marathon pretty much.
Right.
And I didn't take enough time to really soak it all in, relax, have fun. I was pretty stressed out because I wanted to win, but I also made the mistake of not including more of my community. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and when you don't include the community and you go asking for votes,
Mm-hmm.
it makes things kind of difficult. And so for me, these last couple of years, I took the time to go learn the community, be a lot more involved in the community. I went back to college and got my business degree. I have a marketing degree. I just got from Texas A&M San Antonio, and started building and networking with different groups of people to be ready for this time now.
Yeah, that's I like that you're honest with that, because you know a lot of times if we make it about ourselves, then it's like, well, what's the point of running? I mean, it really is, it should be always about the people, and taking those things that you learn and saying, okay, look, this time I'm going to start doing this way, to where because that's how it should be in city council, right? City council should be and interact with the community and be there and be a voice and not for your own, uh, per like for your own agenda, so to say. And so that's great that you caught that, and that you're honest with that, because a lot of people would just say, well, whatever, they're not honest for it. But and everybody just watching, I mean, you have to realize that this is a struggle. It's an internal struggle when running for office, because you want to win, right? You want to be able to do something. You want to be able to hold these offices, but sometimes it's a struggle mentally, physically, spiritually, even, and it takes a toll on you. But if you correct yourself, I mean, that's the best way to do it. And especially if you have that mind frame, that's awesome. And I'm glad that you touch point on that. So what are some of the things what is your first item of business that you would like to do if you do get into office?
I would like to start working on how things look around the district. District 2, particularly the east side, parts of it look exactly the same way it did when I was a kid. I'm 45 years old, and a lot of these parts, they still look the same. They're still trash. So getting the community to take self-accountability and own recovery. So change the way things look around the district. That means landscaping. That means art. That means creating spaces to where businesses can expand, and also opening up doors to where people who want to start a business, anybody who wants to come to our district, move their business here, have a way for them to do that. And so, first thing is change the way things look, then also changing the way people think about this side of town. Historically, it's been known as the black side of town, but also it's been known as a very violent, a very negative side of town, based off of what you read in the news and what you read in the newspaper. However, this District 2 and the East Side has a rich history that hasn't been talked about, whether that's through Black experience or through the Hispanic experience. Mm-hmm. So it's time to create spaces to where we can talk about the history of the district, but also use that history and use it towards the future.
Right. And that's the biggest thing is doing that generational change, right? I mean, you see it on the South Side, on the West Side. It's, everybody is like, well, this is just the way it is, or do you think it's like do you think people really want to just do something different? Or do you think they just lost hope?
Well, it's both, because I think more people want change. Like, I'm born and raised in San Antonio. You probably are too. And like, how old are you?
Shoot, how old am I? 37, I think.
Okay, so I'm 45. So we kind of like in the same. Well, back then, you already know how it was. Like before the gangs got here, before things really got bad. Everybody was pretty much playing with each other. So San Antonio is a small mom and pop type town. Small businesses really, carry the city. And, I would really love to see the way that people instill hope into their communities like they used to have. I used to love riding down Military Drive, watching all the cars on Sundays. Martin Luther King, on W.W. White, we had the same thing on the East Side. So there's some things that, people are wishing would come back. Then also people are fearful, because every time we try to have something, we got police messing with us or people shooting, don't know how to have a good time. So we got to learn how to have good times in those spaces. But I feel like people are afraid because they don't know what to do. They want to do something, they just don't have an idea. And when they reach out to people to represent them, if those people don't have those same interests in mind, they're going to misrepresent those people. And so that's where the hopelessness comes in, is when they let the people over and over and over help them. Those people don't help them. So we gotta get people in there who really care.
Yeah, definitely. And that reminds me of it was a car club, but the Lowrider Car Club. I think it's called Ethics Car Club, and my friend I'm gonna call him Mr. On the Boulevard. I'm not gonna say his name, but
Right.
you know, he introduced me to these guys, and you know, they're like, we want this the car club community to be positive, you know, because everybody that shows, you know, on the outside, they're like, oh well, they're just a bunch of gangbangers and all that stuff, but they want to change that perspective, you know, because yeah, it was in a sense looked at that way, and it's like, well, they're up to no good, but you know, to change that mind frame of doing positive for the community, and we should start opening our mindset, and yeah, let's start having those you know, drives down military again, or maybe incorporate the east side and west side together. You know what I mean? To create a bond and to say, look, we're doing positive for the community. Um,
Well, we actually
but
was doing that at one time. The hip hop community, uh, the Hispanic hip hop community, the hip hop community, and the car clubs. We was all meeting at Rosedale Park. We was going shows. We was bringing in artists. So that black and brown San Antonio pride, we was doing that at one time. We was going to each other's studios, rapping on each other's songs. We was doing shows together. But I think through the course of time over the last few years, whether that was not having enough money, whether we were war during the Bush times, racism, everything played a part into why we're not doing these types of things now. And I'm telling you, when everybody was riding slab, everybody was having cars, everybody's having music playing, it was a good city.
yeah,
And we was able to really appreciate San Antonio for what it was and the people. Now, everybody's trying to find their identity because COVID,
right.
lack of jobs, everything has changed the way we look. So I think right now, if we can just find our roots, tap back in to our roots in the city, we can start bringing those things back slowly and surely.
Now, do you think with COVID, everything, like, people will start having a different perspective and maybe trying to pursue those dreams that they did have, or do you think that it might be, you know, scaring people a little bit, especially in the community itself?
Well, COVID is going to do two things. Two things. COVID is going to make you stronger. COVID is going to break you down. And so, luckily for me and for people that's been around me, COVID has made us better. Like the things that we were doing before COVID, we can't do them no more. Like we had to reinvent ourselves pretty much. And then there are other people who were negatively affected by COVID, whether that was getting sick, losing loved ones, or just being the whole idea of being isolated during that
Yeah.
time. And people don't really talk about how much being isolated from people and going through COVID by yourself has a psychological and emotional effect on you. And when you do start coming back out, you're not the same again
Yeah.
because all we trying to do is trying to find answers to why people are getting sick and why people are dying, but
Mhm.
there's no answers to why people are suffering from this isolation. I think that's one of the biggest things that we're not talking about is that the isolation during COVID has really taken a toll on our community.
Right. And you know, I mean, what are some things that maybe you have envisioned, you know, if you get into office to try to bring that community back to life, trying to bring everyone to a point to where, you know, we're we're on a better path, you know. And obviously I've always been a proponent, government can't fix everything. But like, what are some things that you would like to implement, you know, if you do get into office?
Well, one thing I'm definitely going to be active as far as disseminating information to the district. Our district needs somebody that they can look up to and say, "Hey, that guy right there, I know this guy really cares about me." So one of the things I'm going to be doing is town halls are going to be, whether that's virtual town halls, whether that's in-person town halls with limited people, live streaming, but town halls giving information about important things, whether that's COVID, whether that's financial information, whether that's stuff about the police, whether that's stuff about anything. But they have to see their council person active, engaging, different levels, not just taking meetings at the office. Like council, this next council person, which I feel like I can win, I'm going to be in there, knee deep in the community, walking around, paying business to businesses, going through the community, doing drive-throughs with the police, doing drive-throughs on my own, bringing my staff to places where a lot of people don't have access to in authority. And so let them know that councilman knows them, he knows about them, and he knows.
Definitely. Well, I like to hear that because, I mean, yeah, it's that community engagement that, it sounds like District 2 really wants that and is lacking that connection. And, I mean, there's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of work to do. And I think this is just a testament, having all these candidates to say, look, people are tired and they want something new. They feel like they want to do something for the district. And yeah, that's awesome. What are some things that you think you can improve on from the current elected official? I know you've kind of already said some stuff, but what's something that you can improve on? Maybe something that's like a positive, maybe something you've seen that has been implemented that you can kind of improve on that or run, maybe kind of further that initiative.
Well, for starters, like I said, being engaged, answering the telephone, taking meetings, those little small things right there makes a really big difference in the trust of the people. If people call, you answer the phone, they're gonna have faith in you. You call people back when you answer emails. That's just the small part about it. But as far as like my plans in the future, we have programs that we're gonna implement. One is called the Handyman Program. It's a program I've been working on for the last 3 years that's going to get the journeyman and the handyman inside of my community and the city to be able to sign up with the city to get contracts. So, like, say for instance, you may have somebody over here on the east side who does plumbing work, but that job may only cost $200 or $300. Instead of calling a big company, you will go through this list of journeymen live over in this area, and you will call that person so that person can make some extra money and also help people inside the community. So it's going to be like zip code based. So like whatever jobs are within your zip code, you'll be eligible for those types of jobs depending on your type of field of work. So like if you're an electrician, a plumber, an auto mechanic, those types of things that we may need inside of our community, but we don't have the type of money to spend an arm and a leg for. The handyman program will allow these journeymen to make extra money on the side, and also they're going to be performing a service that's helping the community. So that's just one idea that I have, and I have a few more ideas also dealing with the police. They have a program called the Explorers Program, and they've always had this program. And what the Explorers Program is, it's a cadet program for ages, I think, 14 to 24, and they teach them about how to be SAPD, law enforcement and stuff like that. And I feel like if we can get the young kids, more of those kids, into the Explorers Program, they'll learn a lot more about SAPD. They'll be a lot less apt to have those confrontations. And I'm one more quick point. And here's the reason why I'm pushing that. I was raised by my grandfather, so that was the first authority that I learned. So when I see a cop, when I see a pastor, when I see a coach, I respect them because my grandfather taught me about respect. So even if a cop is having a bad day, if I say, "Hello, sir, how you doing, officer?" I'm going to diffuse him a little bit because I'm showing him respect. Now, if he chooses to go further than that, then I'm going to take proper action to make sure that he gets held accountable. And so when it comes to police and community engagement, I want accountability. I don't want revenge. I want accountability on their part. I don't want revenge. I don't want to defund the police. I do want accountability on their part because we need the police in our community. And so it comes down to who did you respect in your authority when you were growing up? And a lot of people didn't have fathers in the home. They wasn't raised by male role models. So that male authority, they don't experience that until they're old in age, and if they don't have the right people around them, they're not going to respect that authority. So
Definitely. Yeah. And so, with that, I mean, do you think that because that was one of my questions as far as with SAPD and everything that's going on. It seems like all the candidates, I haven't heard any candidate yet talk about, abolishing the police, or defunding, specifically. But, you know, I think the issue is that people don't mean like complete defunding. It's take a better look at the funding for the police instead of getting a raise. Why are you cutting all these community programs down? But what's your take on that? What do you think that should happen in regards with the police?
All right, let me preface what I'm getting ready to say about this. I was part of Mayor Taylor's uh, committee with the policing back in 2016. A guy by the name of Mike Lowe, he was leading charge of the police not getting his contract signed. This guy's a soldier. He went to jail, for his activism. He never wavered from that, and they ended up getting the contract signed. And before they signed it, a lot of people was against Mike Lowe. So why are you doing this and blah blah blah? Well, once they got the contract signed, you see that their behavior was getting worse. Now everybody's saying, "Oh, why did y'all sign that contract? Why did y'all sign that contract?" Well, when we was trying to get people to get with us to stop them from doing the contract, people was against it. So I have to say that is even right now, a lot of people who backtracking on that don't defund the police is hypocritical because at first they were all in with defunding police, but now all of a sudden they're getting pushback from people who look like them, people that's within their circles. Now they're like, oh no, I don't want to defund the police. Well, what do you want to do? Well, I just want accountability. Well, what does that look like? And that's where you kind of get them. They don't know what that looks like. They're looking for answers. And to me, what that looks like is you got to keep holding them accountable. You got to keep calling them to the table and engaging them. You got to pick up the phone. You got to invite them out. You got to get your kids involved with them. You got to make them do their job pretty much. And so instead of promoting fear for the cops, we need to be promoting accountability for the cops and atonement for our community with the police. So I'm friends with a few law enforcement, Douglas Green, Officer Harden, Dean Fisher. He was the vice president of support. And so I've sat down with them and went line by line on community engagement on what we can do to like bring us together. But when you got people in the district who are just campaigning for fame and using District 2 tragedies to get on the cameras, and you got people that's supposed to be representing us, and they're voting for landowners and landlords and going back and forth, and you got people that's running for office who used to work for the councilwoman. They're only running because they're mad at the councilwoman, and they're not really thinking about the people. That's when a lot of our issues get right up on the table because it turns into a drama fest instead of a real election. So, for me, I just feel like deep down inside, we got to do some real soul searching as a community and as a city. We have to do some real soul searching.
Now, with that, I mean, do you believe that there is some systemic racism within the police forces in general?
Yeah, I do, and I think black officers get a really bad rap for being police because you don't know what the black officers got to do on the police force. They got to, they have to do their job, and then they have to behave a certain type of way in order to keep their jobs, and then some of them want, and even some Hispanics want to speak out against what's going on, but they know if they go against police, they're gonna lose everything. They're gonna get ostracized. They might get fired. Something might happen to them. So you got police who probably want to speak out, but they're afraid too. But at the same time, if you really care about the community and you really believe that, like a police should act a certain type of way, then it's your obligation to speak out and to hold your other officers accountable, even if it's not in public. You need to get him somewhere and be like, hey man, you need to keep tripping, man, because this community doesn't deserve that. But if you don't have advocates doing that, if you don't have people that's keeping their own officers in check, then the black officers who are not participating in that but are going through that, they're going to keep getting lumped in it, and you can't help but to blame them because you're police too, and you have an obligation. So I just really feel like it's like a stuck between a rock and a hard place
Mhm.
because I grew up respecting police, like Officer Joseph. You know, these are police that were raised in our community, went to school in our community, and just became cops. And so for me, the narrative should be changed, and we should start promoting more of our kids to become law enforcement. So that way we can have more of our own people patrol our community.
Now, question. Um, and try to make it like the short answer if you can, just because I want to do a follow up to that question. But do you think there's an issue with training in the police force that is causing this issue as well?
Yep, it is.
Okay.
And real quick, and biggest factor, I don't think they do enough psychological evaluations on the people that they hire before they. My understanding is a lot of military people, so I think deeper psychological evaluations. And right now, at this point, I think every officer should reapply right now. They should make every officer reapply, and so that way you can weed out the bad actors.
Oh, nice. That's um now okay, here's the thing is if there's a problem in training, aren't there going to be some negative issues when you start training from the Explorer program? Like, you know what I mean? Like, could that not be efficient as well? You know what I mean? Like, what if it's starting there as well with the issue in training? If you're starting from a young age as well.
Well, I mean, you can do two things. I mean, you're going to have oversight to make sure that that doesn't happen, that the person that's in charge of these young kids are not feeding that into their psyche. The second thing is, if you feel like that may happen, why don't you get some officers who look like the people? So like, if you got some black kids, then you may want to get a black officer to work with them along with somebody else. But I feel like you should have a little bit of both, so that way you can put them in scenarios to
Right.
where they can deal with a white officer, or if they're in the act of being an officer, they can deal with a young black child. And
Hmm.
so, the Explorer program is a foundation to build better relationships with the community and the police. Even a lot of it has to do with fear on both sides. And I think if you go through something like the Explorers program, you get to know these kids on a more intimate level. And so I'm telling you this from experience
Hmm.
because Officer Christian, Officer Joseph, Officer Dale, Shepard, uh, Payne, all these are police officers that raised me when I was young, and I was part of the Explorers program for a little bit when I went to Eastside Boys and Girls Club. And over that summer, I learned so much about police, like I wanted to be a cop.
Hmm.
So we have to have those questions, we have to have those conversations, but also we have to find ways to remove the fear. And the only way to do that, we have to engage.
Definitely. Yeah. So how do you plan on bridging the gap between city council and the citizens, especially with like the digital divide? Like how do you what are some of the things that you would like to see happen between that gap between citizens and city council?
Well, for starters, I would like to see a lot of digital citizenship, meaning that people be a lot more responsible when they're online. There's a lot of negative information that's being shared by everybody. I would love to see that first and foremost, but on the digital divide, I would love to see like AT&T, Spectrum, that's a lot more into these poor communities. Like AT&T, they have a program right now, but if you get Snap benefits, you can get internet $10 a month. And you know that is something that greatly helps communities that are lacking, and that right there in itself is showing the digital divide. And you can get up to 100 MPS for $10 a month, and in some cases, depending on where you're at, you can get up to 200 for $10 a month. And so
Jeez.
and so that helps out a lot of people, especially doing the virtual learning. And I just feel like if a lot more of these big corporations open up their towers a lot more, or also some households, especially during the pandemic, I think $10 is too much. It should be free until we can get out of this situation. But people gotta make money. I understand that.
It's breaking up just a little bit.
Oh, I said people are making money. I understand that. So
You're right. Yeah, and that's the thing too. Is something that I had said on another interview is okay. You have these companies coming in, right? Like let's say on District 3, you have Amazon coming in, or even we have AT&T Center or the Coca-Cola plant on the east side, right? Why not have them, instead of giving them tax breaks, have them provide internet for the area? You know what I mean? Something like that. That instead of doing these things, these tax breaks, like it's crazy because it's not coming back to the community. So I mean, if they want to come in, or if they try to create that bond with these companies and try to do that, because it should never solely rest upon a government, because the government, then we're going to just keep raising taxes and taxes and taxes, but they're going to bleed us out, right? So I mean, you should look for alternative methods like companies and things like that can provide these resources, just like you were saying, like, hey, provide some internet. Why not ask? You know what I mean? Or even if you're running for office, and if you have a company saying, oh, we want to donate to your campaign, why don't you provide internet access for my area and my district? Why don't you do that? You know what I mean? And then
you can go to the AT&T Center and sit in the parking lot and get free internet access, but you gotta go up there. So I mean, they have different types of ways, but then you also open yourself up to identity theft when you're on these public networks and stuff like that. So there has to be a way that we can tap in to these other networks without opening ourselves up to you know identity theft and other types of cyber crimes and stuff like that. But for me, on the digital divide, I think that falls a lot on the people who are mostly invested into our district, which means our school districts, city, and the county. And SAISD, they're doing a pretty good job of, shortening the digital divide, but they've been having problems. Well, other school districts have been having problems as well. And so for me, I just think that with this virtual learning, it's new. People are adjusting, but I think for the most part, over in District 2, we've been doing pretty good getting everybody on cue. It just sucks that kids can't go to school the way they need to. My daughter's in sports, so it's the pandemic has greatly affected her production in sports, but we're gonna work through it.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Now with property taxes, and I'm going to ask you this question. I'm just jump over real quick. I'm going to check on my kids, so just bear with me. But I'm going to ask you this question. Just go ahead, feel free to ask. I'm going to jump out right after this, and I'll come right back. But as far as property taxes go, obviously they've been on the rise, right? They've been on the rise. There's a lot of issues with that. What are some things that you see are happening that are good, and what are some things that you think can better be improved upon as a city council person, or even just in general, just to kind of help the community? Try to answer this question to the people itself that are going to watch this and watching, and then once I get back, just if you want to kind of tailor it so that we can kind of have that conversation. Okay. So
all right. So the things that I see that are well, I like that they're doing the sidewalks, the streets improvements. I like the fact that they're doing improvements in the neighborhood, building homes all around the different neighborhoods. I love the homes that are being built along MLK, and I love the diversity inside of District Two. Different groups of people, different cultures, um, different ways of thinking. That's always a good thing inside of District. Things that I see that may be concerning in the future are one, the houses that they're putting on MLK. Those are houses that are made by the city. I believe Saha is one of them. But if that's the case, that means that they're going to be renting these homes out and not selling these homes, bringing in families. And what's concerning to me is that I feel that the way to build up a community and to secure a community is to raise the home ownership. The more renters you have versus homeowners, I believe the more crime you're going to have. When you have more homeowners, people are going to be more apt to take care of their properties than they would if they were renting. So I would love to see the city, as they're putting up these new homes and developing these neighborhoods, I would love to see more families moving in as homeowners. First time homeowners, don't matter. But we need more homeowners inside of our community because I really feel like the renters are the ones that's kind of causing a lot of the problems. And you have a renter's mentality versus a homeowner's mentality. It's two different mentalities. And so I just feel like when people own their homes, they're going to be more apt to take care of it.
Well, here's the thing though, is that San Antonio is becoming a renter city. So I mean, and I don't know if that's on purpose or because it seems like the city is letting a lot of developers in building these apartments and whatever it is. So the thing is that these renters cannot fight protest. They can't protest property taxes, right? So it's part of the company itself that owns the apartments, and which they say they do, but yeah, at the end of the day, these homeowners also are not protesting their taxes like they should be too. They should do it every single year. Um, so just bringing that information to the people, that the homeowners, that to say, hey, go protest your taxes every single year, and here's how you do it. You know, we really need to try to get people to start protesting their taxes, because if not, they're going to keep raising up higher and higher and higher. You know what I mean? So I mean, that is an issue. But do you see that we're becoming a renter city, or because
We've
it
been
does
in,
look like?
we've been in renter city. Like, well, for starters, I just came from the tax office, tax assessment today. It's packed because taxes have skyrocketed this year. So people are trying to get relief, whether that's a homestead or whether that's some type of payment plan or whatever. It was packed.
Mhm.
Okay, and then with that being said, over here on the east side, you have a lot of gentrification. Um, we had the we had the promise zone for the last 10 years, and it just ran out. Well, during that time, a lot of investors was coming in and was getting tax breaks, but those tax breaks were not for the residents. And so a lot of people swooped up a lot of property, sat on it, let the price go up, and then they sold it and they left the community. So we still have vacant buildings, we still got vacant lots. Some of them are filled in, but I feel like right now, the city, by it being a low wage city, and I feel like that's another thing that hampers the city is that there was a study in 79 that they did on the workforce, and they named the city Low Wage City USA. So like anybody that comes here who wants to like bring a business is being promoted that you can pay people low wages, you can get a lot of work out of this. And see, that needs to be shared, and they need to raise up prices because the salary versus the homes, the how much the homes cost versus how much you make, it's all like it costs more to own a home than you would make. I think it's $47,000 to own a home, and then people are only making barely 40 something $1,000 a year. So those numbers are off, and we got to find a way to a raise up salaries so that way more families can afford to move into homes, or find a way to lower the cost of these homes so that way more people can work there. And one more thing, real quick, I went through the SAHA first time home buyers program 5 years ago, almost 6 years ago, me and my wife. Well, the intent was if you go through this program, they would help you find a home, kind of like the NACA program. Well, we paid $30 each. It was about 3,000 of us. So multiply that times 30,000. They only helped one person in this whole program. I ended up finding my house through somebody else, and lo and behold, we ended up buying a house on the east side. But my point is that you got Saha, the largest home provider in San Antonio, and they don't have a first time home buyers program that people can go through. They rather have you getting vouchers, being on welfare and housing your whole life, but there's no way to transition to own your own home from housing. So one of the things I'm going to be proposing as councilman is that people be on housing for up to 2 years. After 2 years, there need to be a transition to where you can own your own home. Because what you paying in housing, which is about $1,100 with your voucher, you could be paying that in the mortgage. I paid $600 and something for a mortgage. So our people inside our community, they can afford a home if they're given that opportunity. So that's what I feel.
Yeah, that's that's the thing that always want to break out of that cycle, because it doesn't seem like they want you to progress, and you then that you wouldn't need them, right? So
Right, exactly.
But the thing is that just like politics, oh well, we're gonna do this and this because then you're gonna need us for whatever reason. But it's we need to break out of that cycle. We need to show everyone, all of our community, that let's do these things. Let's change up how we think of money, and let's give them financial education. And the thing too is, like I was telling somebody else, in the last interview, is most people don't even know about principal payments, and how that can affect their payments for a loan or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And if you were to pay principal, then you can pay off your loan faster. And if we give people that information from the get-go, then we could start not owing people, and that's a big problem with our community. And I know I suffered through it, and I learned the hard way. And but man, we need to get that focus to where we start from the beginning, especially with our kids and in our schooling. But so do you see a problem with public schools and charter schools? Because a lot of people are saying, well, charter schools are taking kids from our public schools. But do you think that maybe it's because our public education isn't where it should be, or do you think that people just are giving public schools a bad rap? Or
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, public schools have been challenging. They've been challenged for like the last 10 years, especially here. And charter schools serve as another alternative to education. However, over these last 2 years, if you look at somebody like IDEA versus SAISD or something like that, the way that they place these schools have been strategic in a way that where they're positioned in the district. We got 3 IDEA campuses on the east side alone. One downtown, one off Martin King, other one off W. White. They are strategically placed in between different schools, so that way you can siphon off students. Now, does IDEA have good things about it? Yeah, it does, and we should celebrate those things. Does public school have things that are good? Yes, and both of them need to improve. What I feel like both of them fall short is, one, IDEA is they are not really patient with a lot of the black kids. They suspend and kick these kids out. And the same with public school. Hispanic kids, depending on what school you're going to, if you're going to Harlandale, you're going to somewhere like that, it's a very challenging school. A lot of those girls in there are pregnant. A lot of those young men in there are young fathers, and they're right there across the street from Alexander Patrick Courts. And so they're facing challenges just like we're facing challenges on the east side at Sam Houston. We've had principal changes at Sam Houston, and the woman that's there now, Shereen Dixon, she's doing the best job that she can. And I even became PTA president at Sam Houston this year because I wanted to be more involved with my daughter's development. But then also I wanted to keep my hands involved in the school district. And so for me, I feel like it's a huge obligation. It's a huge blessing to be in this position to be able to even be here. And so I
Mhm.
think between IDEA, the charter schools, and the public schools, I feel that there has to be some type of compromise between the two because kids that they're getting, sometimes they'll start off at IDEA, but they'll end up at King Middle School, or they'll go to Gates, or they'll start off at King half the year, and then they end up going to a charter school. So it's a lot of moving around. And my thing is that no matter what school you're at, you need to have the best teachers, and you need to have the best curriculum for all the students you're engaging because y'all all sharing the same students.
And now with that, one of the examples that I kind of have told people is there must be something that parents are seeing that they're willing to be paying. Obviously, I mean they have no choice right now, but they're paying property taxes for that school district, but they're willing to move their kid out and put them towards a charter school or a private school and pay twice, in both areas. For there's something to be an issue like that's how kind of I see it is if a person's willing to pay twice, then we maybe have to address something with the public school or the school district. Or is the school district, are their hands tied because of the state? That's what I want to know, because if their hands are tied, then we need to look up more than just in the local area. You know what I mean? We need to see what with with Texas Education Agency, what's going on. Like, why
Yeah.
are our school districts not thriving and these charter schools are? Why
Well,
can't you work together? You know?
one thing is that I feel is the school board has, they have people that they have to answer to, and they have to get consensus amongst each other. And charter school, I don't, not so much. I think there's more of somebody who has more of a say so over what happens within that system than they would with uh, somebody like SAISD. You got the superintendent, and then you got the board members. She has to get a vote from them to get something passed, and that that takes a lot of time. But I just feel like the money that was wasted, the programs that they took out of the schools, the trade program, home economics, the sports programs are not being invested into. They're just not investing into the students like they used to. We was going to school, you played football, they gave you your pads, they gave you 2 jerseys, they gave you shoes, socks, jock strap, they gave you everything. Now, you trying to play football at your middle school or high school, you got to damn near pay for everything before you play. And so the budget cuts, the
Mhm.
programs. I used to work for BCOIC after, as a summer job. They don't have those type of resources anymore, and kids are looking for work. Kids are looking for things to do in the summer, and that's why you got a lot of kids selling drugs and doing what they supposed to be doing other stuff outside of that. Now, the charter schools and the public schools, they don't have enough extracurricular activities after school. It was so much stuff to do when I was growing up. Boys and Girls Club, the YMCA, the Boy Scouts. It was so many organizations and programs that you can get involved with that are not there right now. And the ones that are there, they're kind of cherry picking the type of kids that they want. Don't be too difficult. You're not going to get an opportunity. So they're getting the best of the best and the ones that they don't have to tell too much stuff to. And so for me, somebody who's into the youth, I think that right there has an effect on the young kids when somebody picks another kid over you and say, he's good enough, but you're not good enough. And so that's what they're getting at these charter schools and these public schools. Depending on the teacher may tell them they're not good enough. So they're going to go to another school and then they're going to probably thrive or face the same situation. So I just feel like, man, we got to have some really deep conversations on what's best for our students and what type of teachers and instructors do we need to work with our kids over.
Right. And it all starts there. I mean, everybody's like, well, we need to find the root cause. The root cause is the lack of education, the lack of caring for our students, our kids, and
I
trying
think it's
to,
also bad parenting too.
oh, that too. Yeah.
Because
That
think
too.
about it.
Yeah.
Think about it. Like your parents teach you how to behave outside of the home. Your job is to go to school and learn. It's not the teacher's job to
Mhm.
teach you how to behave. It's the teacher's job to teach you how to learn. It's your parents' job to teach you how to behave. And
Right.
so we put a lot of unnecessary pressure on our teachers to be our parents, our teacher, our therapist, everything.
Mentor.
When
Yeah.
yeah, mentor and everything. When really they're just in there to do a job. And so I feel like if parents put a lot more into the kids on how they should behave when they go outside of the home, because you are representing your parents. And so if we teach our kids how to behave when they go outside of the home, when they get into the schools, they're gonna have a lot more respect for the teacher when the teacher is giving a lesson, because that's her
Mhm.
job, is to give a lesson, not to always be worrying about your behavior all day. So
Right. Yeah. And yeah, it comes down to respect and, being respectful. And maybe we've lost a lot of that, especially, our kids are watching this. Our kids are seeing how we interact with people. And if we're acting a certain way, then they're going to say, well, you did it. Why can't I do it? You know what I mean? So, you know, we should always be held accountable as parents, as adults and everything, because these kids are watching. These
yeah,
kids are watching what we're doing. So I mean, and with the No Child Left Behind, that is an issue, because then that puts even added pressure for the teacher to pass these kids, even though they should have passed,
right, right.
and that becomes an issue too, because then these kids are continuing without the education that they should be getting, and it doesn't always fall on the teacher. It should fall on the parents, and even though I suck at homework, you know, I didn't excel very well in school, but I know when it comes down to it, I know I'm going to have to be able to be there for my kids and learn and figure things out. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it's
and
definitely
it's up to you as a parent to upgrade in your life as well.
right.
Things have changed, and so I just feel like as a parent, we should commit ourselves to learning things new every day with our kids.
Hmm. Definitely. Um, I know you don't have too much time. So let me just give a couple of questions. Would you be willing to look into ranked choice voting for our election system? And it's something that we can do something locally. It doesn't depend on the state, but ranked choice voting for anybody who's watching, it's basically if you have four candidates, uh, you can rank them in order by number. So 1 through 4, you can do 1, 2, 3, 4. And the way that would work is you would still have to reach that 50 plus 1, 50.1 threshold to win. Um, but what would happen is that if all the votes are tallied up and that top person does not have 50%, then the last person in the race would drop out, and then the votes tallied for the other people would add on to there from that person who lost those votes, and then until somebody reaches 50%. And what that would do is end gerrymandering is from a state level. It would cause to where there would not be a need for runoff elections, which would save the money millions of dollars, because then there would be an instant winner. An instant runoff is what it's called. You wouldn't need another runoff election for that. And then also it would cause candidates to be more civil to each other, because they would want to work together to earn that person's constituents' second place vote. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So, is this something you'd be willing to look into? Because I know a lot of people aren't talking about it, because it's something new for US in general, but it's something that you would look into.
Yeah, it's something definitely I would look into. Sounds interesting,
Yeah,
and
it's
and I just feel like runoffs are unnecessary. But from my understanding, we're gonna have like 9, 10 people.
Well, this would be a prime opportunity to do it because with so many people on the ballot, you know, people could say, and there are some great candidates
Yeah.
on this, on this list for D2 and same as the other races too. So I mean,
There's only
people would
one,
say,
two candidates I really like.
well,
Like Tyrone Darton, that's my
Mhm.
cousin. That's my first cousin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so like I like him. He's very smart. He has great ideas, and I really feel like if I don't win it, he will be somebody I would look to probably lead the district.
Right. And that's an example right there is if you were to do ranked choice voting, it would be, let's say all of your supporters will vote for you, and then they can vote for Tyrone to go ahead and for the second place. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
so it would work that way, and it would always work itself out to be the best amount, the majority itself, because as we have it already, especially you know with multiple candidates, nobody is probably going to reach that past that 50% mark anyway. So and that's how it usually is. So if we were to change this mentality and this type of election system, it would definitely change the landscape, and especially for partisan races, or not part like for races that involve the parties, it would change that dramatically because then people wouldn't feel pressured to vote specifically by a party, and that's where it issue because then it would end that duality between left or right, and then you could start including more independent and third party candidates. So just a thought, I think it's very important to start thinking ahead, like you were saying, just thinking in the future and start seeing how we can do different things and maybe to bring us closer together. So, what made you, what was like jumping from, what was the jump from thinking about running to just full blown commitment? Like, what was your thought process?
And at first, I'm gonna be honest with you, I was only thinking about college because I'm pursuing a doctorate. But all the community people, I'm going to church and I'm walking around. If I'm saying, Walter's gonna run, I'm like, nah, I'm in school. And they're like, oh, bro, we run because what's going on right now. You know what I'm saying? We really need somebody. So it's really the community. The first time it was my desire to
Hmm.
run, do this. But this time it's the community who came and got me. But I still got the same desire to do the job. Now the things that I didn't do the last time, I'm definitely going to do this time. The main thing is involve the whole community and make those connections. But at the same time, people that's running, they're going to get that work. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to give them that work on the campaign trail because I've been hearing stuff from the candidates that I haven't been liking, and it has nothing to do with what's going to push our community forward. A lot of it has to do with revenge against the incumbent right now. So we got to get that out the way so that way we can focus on what the community needs and not have that unnecessary drama in a really good candidate race.
Right. Well, and that's the reason why I wanted to do these type of events because from what I've seen in the media, it's a lot of it is either driven towards newsworthy type of, like, oh well, what's the drama scandal or whatever it is, and it shouldn't be like that. You know what I mean? And
Right.
especially they don't give enough um exposure and enough time for all of the candidates, and that's why I really wanted to try to do these types to kind of dive deep into the mentality of the people that are running, because you don't get that at forums, you don't get that in these interviews that you have for like 5-10 minutes. I mean, we could not have had a conversation like this in 5-10 minutes, and we could have, but we wouldn't been able to get to know you know what I mean? So I'm grateful that you came on, and I hope anybody else is watching as well. Any other candidates that want to come on, please reach out to me. I'm trying to reach out to everybody. I'm trying to do all the districts and close them out, but District 2 keeps adding on more people as they go.
Right.
So I got
How
one
many
that
is it
actually
today?
I think it's 11, I believe. I have to look, but um I am going to interview another one that just added his name on yesterday.
Who?
Uh uh what's his name? I don't know. I have to look at uh, I'm sorry. I should have
No,
I
that's all
have it on
right.
my
I'm gonna go check.
yeah, but yeah, so I mean it's just I'm trying to knock out all these because District 2, District 5 and District 3 were like the biggest ones and um but I also want to make sure that people are running for these offices that are running unopposed as well because there shouldn't be an easy way in. I mean, unless if that council person is doing amazing and there's no issues, then great, cool. But
Right.
if you do have a problem in those districts, step up and go in there. But is there anything that you want to cover that maybe we didn't ask that you really want to say?
Yeah. The main thing I want to say is that I need everybody to come out and vote. No matter who you vote for, if it's me or anybody else, come vote. If you saw how going out voting affected this last election, and voting is very important, especially in our community. You guys need to vote with your interests, vote according to who you feel is the best candidate. There's a lot of great people up there, but it's only one person that can win, and I feel like I'm that best person to represent this district and get to know me. If you want to know who I am, you can always reach out to me. My phone number is 210-620-1566. And I'm from San Antonio. I went to Sam Houston High School, and I'm a graduate of St. Philip's College in Texas A&M San Antonio. And I just want to tell everybody I love y'all. And if you're going through COVID, keep your head up. And if you lost people, my condolences to you. Just America first.
Definitely. And yeah, I mean, thank you for that. Also, we wanted to do an event with all the District 2 candidates. Basically, just have like a drive-through meet the candidate event, and then also get registered to vote. So, if would you like to participate in that?
Yes, sir. When is it?
Okay, cool. Well, I don't know. Well, it's
God.
just something. It was a thought idea that I know I had started with D5 that we're like, hey, let's do this, and everybody's on board. So I didn't get to ask all the other D2 candidates, but if you are watching or if you hear this, just and I'm going to reach out back to you again. But we want to do an event, drive-through event, meet the candidates all together, and then get registered to vote while you're there. Yeah, I mean it's something simple, but I think we need to see these people and to be able to talk to them and do that. But I want to do it, a joined, groups. That way we show some unity and we show that we can all come together. But we also need a venue. So if anybody knows a venue that we can do it, that's large enough that we can do it for free. We're not trying to get anything out of it, just trying to give some information to the public. So if you have a venue that we can use like a parking lot to have cars drive through, and then even maybe parks, that way we can do some registering to vote and then also talk to the candidates. So if you know anybody, or if anybody is watching that has a venue that would like to step up and maybe do that, because we already have District 5 locked in. Somebody had said it during the live stream, so we're like, great. So just keep an eye out. Let me know. So we could set that up.
All right, I appreciate it, and I'll definitely be able to look out for that.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you for coming on. Thank you for everybody watching. And just how can people find you and to help you as well?
Oh, okay. You can go on my Facebook page, Walt E. Perry Sr. at Facebook.com. You can also get me on Instagram, Suit Up the World, at Suit Up the World, and also at Walter for D2 on Instagram. I'm putting my Twitter together, so that's still up, and my website is still up. But if you want to donate to my to my campaign, just hit me up and I will send you the link to the donation. I don't know it by heart, but I can see that. Just thank you again for allowing me to come on. Thank you so much.
Yeah, definitely. And if you know any other candidates that haven't come on yet, that maybe let them know just that way. But again, I'm trying to reach out to everybody, so it's just a process. But all right, well, Walter, thank you for coming on. Thank you for your time. I appreciate for just having this conversation, and good luck. Okay.
Thank you so much, sir.
All right. So I'm gonna end this live stream. Thank you, guys.
All right.